Hi, this is Les and Amy from the RevGenetics Podcast. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube and now on Spotify, where we do a deep dive on supplements and longevity studies.
And today, we're diving into some research that, honestly, it really flips the script on how we think about fat.
Right. It's not just passive energy storage anymore.
Not at all. If you thought fat was just something you burn off when you exercise, well, this paper suggests something much more active, much more interesting.
We're looking at a paper called Adipocyte lipolysis activates epithelial stem cells for hair regeneration through fatty acid metabolic signaling. Big title.
Huh. Yeah, definitely a mouthful. It's from Tai and colleagues, 2025. But the core idea gives us this almost like a new blueprint for how the body handles repair.
So our mission today is to unpack that blueprint. Specifically, how certain fats, like the kind you find loads of in olive oil, aren't just fuel.
Exactly. They act as potent signals, like specific instructions telling dormant stem cells, okay, time to wake up and regenerate tissue. It's signaling using metabolism.
Okay, let's get into it, because the starting point, the initial trigger in the study, is actually pretty surprising.
It really is. They found that just a very minor injury to the skin of mice, like really superficial, maybe just some irritation causing a bit of inflammation, that alone was enough to kickstart a pretty impressive hair regrowth response.
So a tiny bit of damage basically sends up a flare. Like, hey, repair crew needed over here.
Precisely. It's the body's local alarm system for skin damage. And that alarm immediately gets three key types of cells talking to each other right there under the skin.
Okay, who are the players?
Well, first on the scene, you've got the immune cells, specifically macrophages. They're the first responders rushing in when there's inflammation or injury, cleaning up, assessing.
Makes sense. The emergency crew.
Then right nearby, underneath the skin layer, you have the adipocytes. These are the fat cells. In this context, they call it DWAT, or dermal white adipose tissue. Think of them as like local energy bunkers.
Okay, bunkers just sitting there.
Kind of quietly, yeah, until they get the signal. And then the third key player, often hiding deeper within the hair follicle structure.
Ah, the stem cells.
Yeah, exactly. The hair follicle stem cells. These are the guys responsible for actually growing the hair. But normally, they're dormant, asleep, in quiescence, just waiting.
Like sleeping bears, basically. Waiting for the right wake-up call.
That's a good analogy. They need a very specific high-priority signal before they start the massive job of building new tissue.
So how does that signal get from the initial injury, maybe the immune cells, all the way to these sleeping stem cells?
Okay, this is where the communication chain gets really elegant. The macrophages, when they rush in because of the injury, they release a specific chemical message. It's a protein called SAA3.
SA3, and they send this message where?
Directly to those nearby fat cells, the adipocytes.
Wait, really? So the immune cell is actually ordering the fat cell to do something?
That's exactly what the study shows. The SAA3 protein acts like an emergency command, release the fuel. And when the fat cell gets that SAA3 signal, it starts a process called lipolysis, which is just a fancy word for breaking down its stored fat.
Stored fat like triglycerides.
Right. It breaks down those triglycerides and releases what are called free fatty acids into the local area.
So the fat cells are like local emergency fuel depots. The SAA3 alarm rings, and boom, they dump fuel out for the repair process.
That's a great way to put it. And crucially, it's not just any fuel, it's a specific blend. The researchers found the most important components being released were monounsaturated fatty acids, MUFAs.
MUFAs. Okay, and this is where it connects to things we might actually eat, right?
Absolutely. This is the kicker. When they analyzed the specific fatty acids in that skin fat tissue, the most dominant MUFA by far was oleic acid. C18.1, technically.
Oleic acid. That's the main fat in olive oil, isn't it?
It is. Made up something like 36% of the main fatty acids there. So the body is literally using the same type of molecule, famous from the Mediterranean diet, as a local signal for regeneration.
Wow. Okay, so the body has this internal signaling system using a nutrient we recognize. That's pretty cool.
It is. But here's where they really nailed it down. They tested different types of fats directly on the dormant stem cells in a dish.
What did they test? Oleic acid, obviously.
Yep. Oleic acid, some common saturated fats, and also some polyunsaturated fats, or PUFAs. Like linoleic acid, C18.2, which is common in, say, soybean or corn oil.
And what happened? Did they all wake up the stem cells?
Not even close. The results were stark. The saturated fats basically did nothing. No major effect on waking the stem cells.
Okay.
Only the monounsaturated fatty acids, like oleic acid, provided that specific wake up and grow signal.
And the polyunsaturated ones, the linoleic acid.
This is maybe the most surprising part. They found that linoleic acid was actually toxic to the stem cells.
Toxic? You mean it harmed them?
Yes, it seemed to actively hinder the regenerative process, which, makes you think about the type of fat that's optimal, not just for energy, but for signaling.
That's significant. So it's not just about having fat fuel. It has to be the right kind of fat fuel. The MUFA is the key. Maybe the PUFA jams the lock.
That's a perfect analogy. The specificity seems really important here. You need the oleic acid key.
Okay, so we have the right key, oleic acid, released by the fat cells. How do the sleeping stem cells grab it? How does it get inside?
The stem cells have a specific doorway for it, a protein on their surface called CD36. You can think of CD36 as a specialized transporter, a fatty acid translocase. It specifically grabs onto fatty acids like oleic acid and pulls them inside the cell.
So CD36 is the gatekeeper for the oleic acid?
Right. And once the oleic acid gets inside that dormant stem cell, it's not just used for, background energy. It acts as a direct instruction. It flips a master switch.
A master switch. What does it control?
It activates a really important protein called PGC1 alpha.
PGC1 alpha. I've heard of that one. It's involved in energy metabolism, right?
Exactly. You can think of PGC1 alpha as the manager of the cell's power plants, the mitochondria.
Okay.
See, dormant stem cells, they keep their energy use really low. Their mitochondria are idling. But regeneration, that takes a huge amount of energy.
Right. Building new tissue isn't easy.
So the oleic acid signal comes in, activates PGC1 alpha, and that manager basically gives two critical orders.
What are the orders?
Order 1, mitochondrial biogenesis, build more power plants, ramp up energy production capacity now.
Got it. More factories?
And order 2, fatty acid oxidation, or FAO, which means burn this specific fuel, the oleic acid that just arrived, as efficiently as possible. Use this high-octane stuff.
Wow. So the oleic acid tells the cell, wake up, build more power stations, and run them full blast using the special fuel I just brought you.
That's essentially it. It's a complete metabolic overhaul.
Yeah.
And that massive energy boost is what finally pushes the stem cell out of its dormant state to start dividing and differentiating, actually growing the hair.
The fat signal literally fuels the process.
It fuels it and signals it to start. And here's the really promising part for, potential therapies. The researchers showed they could skip the injury step altogether if they just applied MUFAs, like oleic acid, directly onto uninjured skin.
What happened?
It was enough. It activated that same CD36 gateway, boosted PGC1 alpha, and stimulated hair regeneration without any initial inflammation trials.
Okay, that's huge. That means the fat itself, the oleic acid, is the core signal molecule for waking up those stem cells.
It really points to the fat acting as a direct regenerative messenger.
RevGenetics sponsors these deep dives.
And we really appreciate their support in helping us bring this kind of cutting-edge science to you.
So if we connect this back to the bigger picture, longevity, cellular health, the key takeaway seems to be this link between, specific nutrition, like oleic acid, and the cell's ability to power up for repair.
Absolutely. This study is a beautiful example of how regeneration fundamentally relies on reprogramming the cell's metabolism, activating PGC1 alpha, boosting the mitochondria, burning fat efficiently.
It's all about energy, ramping up the power supply to handle the demanding job of repair.
Right. And, many high-quality longevity supplements often aim at similar pathways. They target mitochondrial health, maybe support PGC1 alpha signaling.
The idea being to keep those cellular power plants optimized and ready.
Exactly. So that when your body does need to repair something, whether it's skin or something else, the cells have the metabolic capacity, the energy generation potential ready to go, just like oleic acid ensures for these hair stem cells.
So supporting your metabolic health isn't just about, say, weight. It's fundamental to your body's basic repair and maintenance functions. Better energy production means better regeneration capacity.
That seems to be a core message here.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the main flow we talked about. A small skin injury causes inflammation,
which triggers nearby immune cells, the macrophages, to release a signal, SAA3.
That signal tells the fat cells underneath the skin to break down their stored fat through lipolysis,
releasing specific monounsaturated fatty acids, especially oleic acid.
This oleic acid is then taken up by dormant hair follicle stem cells via the CD36 gateway,
which activates PGC1 alpha, telling the stem cell to build more mitochondria and burn that fat for energy.
And that energy surge wakes up the stem cell, kicking off hair regeneration. Fat as a direct regenerative signal.
Precisely. And this leads to a really provocative final thought, I think.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Well, this whole mechanism, injury, immune response, fat release, stem cell activation, they found it in the skin. But where else do we have fat deposits near stem cells and potential inflammation?
Well, fat is pretty much everywhere. You mentioned dermal fat, but there's fat around organs, like the heart.
Right. Pericardial fat.
Yeah.
Or think about bone marrow. It's full of fat. And it's also home to incredibly important stem cell populations, like hematopoietic stem cells.
Ah, okay. So you're saying this process might not be limited to just skin and hair?
It raises the question, doesn't it? Could this injury immune adipocyte stem cell communication axis be a much more general repair mechanism the body uses?
Like a fundamental way the body uses local fat stores triggered by inflammation to fuel regeneration in various tissues.
It's possible. Maybe oleic acid signaling is a common language for repair in many different parts of the body where fat and stem cells coexist. It certainly elevates fat from just being stored calories to being a critical active player in healing and regeneration.
That is a fascinating possibility, something definitely worth keeping an eye on in future research.
For sure.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this dive into the source material about oleic acid and hair regeneration.
Thank you for listening to the RevGenetics Podcast.
RevGenetics.com for the best longevity supplements on Earth.